VC funding. Best practices in the MENA region.
Hey everyone. Hello dear panelists. So today we're going to talk about the landscape of the venture capital MENA and market. And dear panelists, could you please introduce yourself just shortly? Danilo, I guess you don't need to do it again. Yeah, Paula, can you please start?
Thank you so much. First, pleasure being here. Thank you so much for attending this session. My name is Paula Tavangar, and I'm the partner and also Chief Investment Officer of Injaz Capital, which is a boutique asset management firm.
Yeah, it seems I crashed the previous panel, so I had as a Swiss, I messed up the planning, so apologies for that. But yeah, Morningstar Ventures, and pleasure to be here again.
I'm a venture partner at Full Stack VC, so it's a VC in US focused on early stage Web3 companies, and I'm a chairman and founder of a DAO in Switzerland called Swiss as a DAO, focusing on tokenization of real-world assets.
And my name is Pedler. I'm the founder of a Dubai-based communications agency Input. And so let's start. So the first question that I have, could you please explain the difference between the venture capital landscape on the global scale and in the MENA region? And also, what are the main trends that you observed in 2023 in the MENA landscape, first of all?
Certainly. Maybe starting from the global stage, I think that we experienced one of the toughest years for the VC sector and the startups since 2016. The deal flow was at 5 years low, and also we had seen a massive decrease around 35 to 40% if we look at different sectors in terms of VC funding, especially in the US. And as we know, I mention US because this is the main driving factor for all the other markets. So it was generally a tough year, but then here in the MENA region, we experienced quite the opposite. So globally, there were multiple factors that were driving this process, like macroeconomic as well as geopolitical. We had conflicts in Ukraine, in Middle East, but at the same time, there was a major concern about valuations. So the interesting thing is that we haven't seen that decline yet in the public markets. They were rallying last year, while the private markets were suffering. So I'm interested to see how that would evolve globally. However, in the MENA region, I think that still here we have very reasonable valuations, and we have a lot of new startups. The ecosystem is pretty much flourishing. And the main difference comes from the driving factors here locally are the governments. A lot had been done through the UAE government and especially Saudi Arabia that grew substantially in venture capital funding for the last 2-3 years, and I think that currently they deployed around 51% of all the venture capital that had been deployed in the MENA region, putting them on the first place as funding. And also there are different government programs that are stimulating the startups, but to come from abroad and establish here and in Saudi, as well as for the local startups, fiscal kind of a stimulus in terms of bank guarantees on loans. So that's very innovative. So this is not a direct investment, but it's more of a guarantee for them to be able to obtain venture funding. So that's why I think that we experienced that kind of uptrend in the MENA, while the global venture capital was kind of in decline.
Thank you. That was very insightful in terms of statistics. Yeah.
Yeah. Just one thing to add. So we have over 100 portfolio companies, and if I have to look at how many are actually local, I would say that there's 2 of them. There's one which is a project called Bioconomy, which was done by 2. One is a local, the other is an Indian local, but that was a real Dubai project, and I think that's the one very local project that was able to grow the most across different protocols, and the team did a really good job. The second one is a project in the data space called Ethium. So what that means and what that tells me and what we've noticed is that a lot of not that many projects are born in the UAE, but there's a lot of projects that grow in the UAE. So you have a lot of portfolio companies who have already reached a certain stage, and then they want to come into this market. Before we had the member of GAF Capital there. That's actually probably one of the only real Dubai like investors, right? When we tell people we're based in Dubai, I'm from Switzerland and Italy, my team is all over the world. Cypher Capital, another fund who's active here in Dubai, they're also not truly local, but actually GAF Capital is one of the only funds who are truly local. And the same way the portfolio companies, many of them are global. They just feel like Dubai is their home, and Dubai is what gives them the freedom to operate. And for startups, the most important thing is that there is no barriers, right? And so that's why, you know, it's a great place to be here, and a lot more founders are coming.
Maybe you can, Danilo, maybe you can elaborate more on the difference between like the European landscape of VC and the MENA landscape. What is the difference, especially in 2023? And yeah.
Sure. You want to go ahead, or shall I go? So when I got here, this was before it was trendy. Let's say it was 4 years ago. I got stuck in COVID, and if you look at the meetups, the quality of both founders and VCs in Dubai, and compared with now, it's apples and oranges, right? So everything has grown here. I think Dubai has earned the mark of being like a serious player. You have, I think Binance has 700 employees here. OKX has over 100. So it's been like really refreshing to see that evolvement. You know, blockchain, being a founder is difficult. I mean, being a startup founder is difficult. Being a blockchain founder becomes, you know, brings a whole lot of other level of complexity. Fundraising is much easier. Like my brother has a company in Berlin. You know, he's been working on it for 6 years. His valuation is 6 million euros. Like, that's difficult, right? You look in crypto, everything is overvalued. It's easy to get money, but then when it comes to taking money out, it doesn't become much easier, which is why founders oftentimes in Europe, they move to Portugal. Portugal, for example, is very crypto-friendly, or in Switzerland. But other than that, if you're in London or such places, it's actually pretty hard, right? So, you know, France is also an interesting country. We have several portfolio companies there. And so, yeah, the UAE has been friendly to founders, which is why I think they're coming here.
Awesome. I mean, I would just add something that Paula mentioned, and also Danilo, is that if you kind of reflect on 2023, so it was the toughest years for, you know, venture investment. And if you take a look, like I think even the Q4 of last year was at the lowest level, you know, of 2023 and comparable to the beginnings of 2020. But at the same time, Bitcoin went up more than 100%. So as a barometer, kind of where we are going, it seems like we are far ahead actually in terms of where the overall market is moving, but not where the venture funding in it. And this is also, just want to say, it was a tough year. It was a tough year for VCs to raise funds, yeah, from LPs, but it was also for startups, obviously, to raise money because the VCs were capital constrained, yeah. But what I want to say is that when it comes to what's happening here in the MENA region, I really want to say that it's fascinating here that you have a powerful combination of talent, capital, and infrastructure, actually. So on the infrastructure side, I mean, we're talking about the physical infrastructure that Dubai has, actually, which is top-notch. It's the best in the world. And we also had from today, actually, DMCC that kind of explained a little bit more how they contribute to that. When it comes to capital, I would say that it's borderless. So today, actually, if you're a founder, you want to raise capital globally, especially at later stages, this is just what you need to do. And finally, in terms of talent, I really want to say that everybody on the planet is coming here. So I also moved here just a few months ago. I've been living in Switzerland for 15 years. And to give you an anecdote, last week, 8 of my friends actually informed me they have either moved or they're moving to Dubai. And these are the smartest people that I know in my network. Yeah? So this is an amazing opportunity to this powerful, you know, combination. But I really want to point out what Dubai is very much missing when you compare it, for instance, to Switzerland, which is crucial on the infrastructure side. That's crypto-friendly banks. And this was already flagged in the previous presentation by the gentleman from DMCC. I think it's a shame that in Dubai, you basically don't have a partner for your banking services. On the other hand, if you go to Switzerland, you have more than 20 crypto-friendly banks. You're choosing with whom you're going to work with, not begging to work with someone.
Can I jump in? So just, I totally agree with you. And since we're here for the purpose of sharing, there is two services which I think are actually quite friendly, and I just want to give a shout out to them because we've been using them a lot. One is a platform called Haven Global that lets you on-ramp, which is really good, off-ramp, sorry. And then there's another digital bank actually by Mashrek called Vio. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to receive your card. They will send an Amerex delivery person to be there in a 30-minute time window, and if you miss it, it's a problem. But there is tools that allow you to convert crypto into AD and have let's say a viable legal throwing crypto business in Dubai at this point already. And then on the other point you mentioned, that last year was hard. It made me think like, comparing bull runs, it's one thing because in the bull run everything goes up and there is euphoria, whether it's 5 months, 10 months, 12 months, it's the same. But if you compare last year's bear market compared to the previous cycle, I feel like last year wasn't really a bull market, right? When we look at 2018, 2019, and Bitcoin went from 20 to 3,000, that was proper bear market, right? So cycles are becoming like, easier, softer.
Yeah, and so you're quite positive about the VC landscape in MENA region, but what are the main challenges that the industry is facing now? Anton just mentioned that there's a lot of talent coming to Dubai, but Paula, don't you think that there is still a lack of very talented people here? Like, highly professional specialists in the VC space, for example?
I think that this is something so rapidly changing. Like the other panelists mentioned that even with you, we were talking before coming on stage that literally every day so many people are coming to Dubai. That is mind-blowing. So I have been living here for the last 8 years, and in terms of even normal services, even if we exclude particularly the startup sector, you see massive improvement even in the last 6 months with all the new expats that came in. And I think one thing that made a massive difference was the Europeans discovering Dubai during COVID. And many of them just stayed here and they opened their businesses. So I think that now we have a way higher level of specialists than what we had before. And also, if we look even in terms of government efforts, because again, you mentioned MENA in general, we're traveling a lot for business to Saudi Arabia. And what I'm noticing there too is there is a lot of government effort for bringing international investment banks and investment funds as well to invest locally. So what they do is that the government matches the investment that they're bringing to the country. So let's say if you're, as a fund, you bring 100 million and then you dedicate that you are going to invest the 50% of the total amount in Saudi, they're going to match your investment, which I think is incredible, and that's how they grow the sector. And it's like push and pull, so consequently, they do the investments, they bring also startups from abroad, so the market is definitely growing. But I think that now is the most exciting phase. When everything is settled, like it becomes a bit like stopped, right? And now everything is growing very, very fast, and we're going to see the results of those investments probably in 2 to 3 years from now, resulting in more mature companies.
All right, I asked about challengers, and you're still very positive about the landscape.
No, I have
really
actually one challenge I want to highlight because I think there is a lot of founders coming here and people who are looking to raise capital, for their funds. So you have investors and founders. What you're lacking is team members, is builders, and I think. What I hope will not happen here in Dubai is what happened in San Francisco, right? Where someone who's a junior engineer needs to earn $150,000 a year so that he can afford life in San Francisco, right? And that's why people are leaving the Bay Area now. So I am afraid of the cost of living here. And it's a beautiful country, everything is amazing, but it's not cheap to live in Dubai. And so I do hope that prices don't go too crazy to make it still builder friendly.
Indeed, actually, that's a very valid point. I wanted to mention it as well. Maybe the only sector that is in trouble, this is the development. Like developers are usually outsourced exactly because of the cost of living. But I hope, as Danilo mentioned, that there will be a solution. And right now, what I know is that there are more and more cities built, so Dubai is growing every day. So hopefully with the new kind of cities within the city, there will be more affordable cost of living, and then we can have also locally sourced developers.
I would also just agree with that, but also just to say is, I mean, I come also from, as a founder, I founded 4 companies, and my experience was always that you have the founders and then a small core team, and that usually core team is actually tight-knit together, but then as you start scaling, you have to go global actually. And you know, I know it would be a dream to have all the talent here in the UAE, but smart people are all over the world actually. Now if you hire a person in Eastern Europe or in US or in South America, for instance, I think that's just the reality. And if you take a closer look at any big crypto infrastructure projects, they have teams offshore actually. So I think this is just reality that we have to accept, you know. And I would talking about challenges, I want to mention one that we overcome successfully last week, which I think is going to be a huge driver, is that UAE got off the gray list actually. So FATF, which is an international association, which kind of looks at the compliance in the financial financial system. UAE got off that list, which I think is going to be a huge driver for more capital to come in, and it's going to be amazing.
All right, I think it's time to wrap it up. So could you guys give advice to the young entrepreneurs here in the Middle East who are seeking for funding, especially if they're running a Web3 startup?
Since I have been on both sides of the table as an entrepreneur seeking funding and also on the buy side, maybe the best advice I would give is to try and bootstrap as much as you can, especially if it's a SaaS. Like, I don't really understand founders that get an idea, they can completely build it in-house, and then they go and start seeking for funding in idea stage, and then VCs are simply not interested, so they let the idea die, and it might be a really nice idea. So the most important step, I would say, is if you're starting your own venture, especially if it's in the software business, to get a technical person in-house, ideally a CTO as a co-founder. So you can bootstrap the project at least until MVP or pilot, so you can show, and then even if you can show some traction, that's the best part, because then you're not going to sell away too much from your company, and you're still going to get the venture capital value. And obviously at that stage, it will be way easier to acquire investment. So 2 things, like build, bootstrap in-house, and then don't get desperate if you hear no's from VCs at an early stage.
Yeah, the first advice is think about very deeply if you really want to start a company, because it's extremely hard, and there's a high chance you're just going to fail. So you have to have the mindset of, I'm going to be working 16 hours a day, forget about my friends, disappoint my family. You know, it's very, very hard. I failed 2 startups. I actually never built a successful startup. And I was fairly successful on the other side of the table, but being a founder is extremely hard. And it just requires absolute focus. That's why I felt like, you know, I'm better on the other side of the table because I'm interested in a lot of things. And if you want to be a successful founder, you have to be in love and absolutely dedicated and addicted to whatever it is that you're building. So really think about whether you are addicted to what you're building, and because that will already save you a bunch of trouble. And the other small feedback is that, you know, be super networking focused. All the information is out there, but remember that when you ask people for money, usually they give you feedback. When you ask people for feedback, that's when they give you money.
Awesome, yeah. So, look, from my perspective, first also I want to point out, actually if it doesn't work out, if you fail, quote unquote, it's totally fine. And trust me, if you fail, nobody will remember it or be so passionate or hurt about it except you. So I said I founded 4 companies, but I didn't tell you how many other ideas I had that never played out. So just really want to mention that. I think Paula said a very interesting point. We're going to have more bootstrap startups, because today you have actually methods and tools and technology to do that. I would also want to point out to the founders, the trend that I'm seeing is that today product market fit is not enough, in a sense that you need a community fit, you need a content fit and you need a product fit, product market fit. So what I mean by that is you first need to do marketing activities. This is what we call content that you're going to distribute in scalable ways, usually on social media, to build a community. Through that community, you're going to get your early supporters, be that product users or actually investors or the team you're going to hire later. They're going to give you the feedback on the product that you're building. And once you build that product in line with the feedback, then your life is going to be a lot easier, because nothing speaks stronger than revenues and clients when you talk to investors.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes.
Gordon always has one.
You're asking whether developers have to be in Dubai? Sure. No, they don't have to be in Dubai. They could easily be in Ras Al Khaimah or Sharjah or Abu Dhabi. So yeah, I mean, we live here in Dubai. We talk a lot about Dubai, but and blockchain. But if you look at, for example, the gaming space, like the Middle East has amazing developers, for the gaming industry. So I think why not for crypto, right? Like I would, to be honest, I've been advocating our team to come to Dubai the last 3 years, and I've been doing a fairly good job at bringing the core team, as you said, to Dubai. So yes, the more people here, the better. Yeah. Yeah, that could be an option, yes, but traffic is a problem, right? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it is. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, dear panelists. I hope that your advice could be very helpful to the young people here who are seeking for funding. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Maria.
Round of applause, everyone. Thank you.